is expensive. We have all of these organs. Your muscles are expensive. It's all economics. It's calories in. How are you going to spend them? There must have been something pretty important with the brain for us to spend what we spend on the brain. These are energetic constraints that I won't go into the details. The social brain hypothesis, I think I'm going to, for time constraints, I'm going to skip over this and just point out that, again, the brain has very specific uses. These are areas that we use just for speech, which we don't even think came at the beginning of the large brain, yet these are brain structures that are what do they call it when you get your computer? They're pre-installed. Okay, it's hardwired in our brains, these areas for speech. So the brain is set up. I remember when I was a kid, they were like, you don't use 90% of your brain. Well, you know, that's not true. We might not use it all at the same time, but here you can see some examples of that. And here is the jump in the brain. I think I covered that pretty well last time. But here's a fun thing, is the brain was growing and growing and growing until somewhere between 10 and 4,000 years ago, just yesterday, boom, the human brain started shrinking. Nobody had looked at this because they just said, oh yeah, it's modern human. We've all got the brain size. But huge study was just done. October 2021, and if you look up here, brain growth goes up to here with Australopithecines, shoots up, and then in the last at least 4,000 years, it's dropped. It's dropped at a much faster rate than even during this gain. So possible causes, our body mass went down a little bit, but that's not enough to account for it. Shift to an agricultural diet is a hypothesis. We were eating all kinds of nuts and berries and meats, and then all of a sudden we're just eating wheat in one part of the world, rice in another, and corn in another, very low quality stuff with agriculture. That's a possibility. A consequence of self-domestication, our docility. I don't have time to argue it, but this is the other thing with the reduction in the muzzle. A domestic dog, as it became domesticated, the muzzle got shorter. For some reason, in all species with neoteny, this means retaining of youthful head shapes. Chimp babies have faces just like ours when they grow out. And so it could be self-domestication. It's a whole can of worms. So examples, bonobos too are they have more juvenile characteristics. So when you domesticate things, whether it's a cow or a chicken, their brains are reduced by the same amount that ours have. So it might be part of this process. We're all becoming self-domesticated. External knowledge, we got the printing press, we had specialties, hunter-gatherers, they all do everything. Now you just do one thing. We don't need all that brain space because a hunter-gatherer needs to know hundreds of plants, they need to know how to make tools, they need to know how to do everything. Most of us, we know how to do one thing, and I'm dependent on, I can't fix my car, there's somebody else that's going to do that. So that's another reason. So we had this precipitous drop that I just had to say near the end. But except for the last 200 years, it started to rise again. And that's probably just because of better nutrition in the last. So rapid growth, even more rapid drop, and then in just 200 years, it's come up a little bit. Probably will stabilize. But I thought that was just interesting.
Is there significant correlation with environment or geography or diet or anything else?
For what?
Brain size.
Are you talking about for what part?
Even current time, taking apart that in the last 10,000 years, so are brains bigger for people who live in different environments, or?
So natural selection on people with larger brains?
Well, if you live in the Arctic, you need a smaller brain because it's more expensive. lot.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think right now there's a, we talk about natural selection and everybody says humans are done evolving. Well, we're still evolving, but not in the ways that you might think. I think, people that have more cognitive abilities tend to have fewer surviving children just because they have fewer children. So,
Yeah.
a lot of food for thought.
Smarter people are less good at intersocial skills.
In what?
Smarter people are less good at
Yeah,
mating as well.
definitely, because their nose is always in the computer or the book. Okay, so I'm going to end it here with some of these conclusions. I've emphasized how quickly paleoanthropology is moving right now. It's no longer considered to be a directional process. I think I've made that point pretty well. Genomic information is having amazing impact. The study of our origins can help us today. Biocultural anthropology looks at the interaction between culture and biology, and this is going to be big, especially when there's a big movement right now, in fact, in that book, that is pretty random, that it's not driven by natural selection. There's going to be a big clash between postmodernists that say that all this is bunk, that we make the decision, all of our behaviors are socially constructed. If you are keeping up with things, that things like sex isn't even biological, it's a social construct. So we have, on the one hand, we have the best information we ever had, but then you go to universities and you go to the humanities department, there is a huge reaction against this. And I'm just telling you that that all of this stuff is being attacked as being sexist, racist, and what have you. And so it's kind of alarming, some of this stuff.
Yeah.
You can see I'm not, I'm a standard liberal like most people, but some of the woke stuff is drives me nuts. All right. So human evolutions under the same constraints, and then I'm not going to go through all of these things. Those were the ones I think that are most interesting because
Wait a minute.
Okay, go.
Back there.
Yeah.
Second column about the fifth down, early hominids,
1, 2,
probably lived
3.
in groups with male-male competition and females moved. What's that?
Where?
Females moved.
1, 2,
3, 4, 5. Next to that one. Look at the last. And females moved. What kind of
okay,
sentence is
that's
that?
one of the parts that I cut
What's
from
that
this.
mean?
Is there's evidence that genetic evidence, even with the Denisovans and the Neanderthals, but even further back, that's more complicated that I can't explain, that unlike most primates, where males are kicked out and they go find a new group, that with our lineage, it has been the females that have moved, because the males have this dominance hierarchy that's already built, and females move. Controversy in it, so.
Oh,
All right, we just
the
didn't
old
have
boys
time.
club versus
The old boys club.
the
yeah.
ladies moved out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did they go together?
Good beer talk.
Attack your woman.
Oh, yeah. Beer thing.
So
Okay.
again, in the big picture, we went from bipedalism, smaller teeth, hairlessness, finally to tools and bigger brains. So we can, it all seems so complicated. I want you to just remember the nutshell version from Ardipithecus becoming a bipedal, Australopithecus taking up a big chunk of time, slow brain growth. Then all of a sudden, tools, bigger brains, Homo sapiens. So you can be able, because what we've learned here, and somebody asks you a question, their eyes will glaze over after 5 minutes, I know. So you've got to be able to put it in a nutshell. So there it is, 4 hours on one slide. When I think about human evolution, I'm thinking about the important things. Humans had to be good mothers. Males had to not kill all the babies. And so I kind of have the more hippy-dippy perspectives. So in spite of all this stuff we're learning, 40% of Americans think things like that the dinosaurs and humans have never changed and they lived simultaneously. It shouldn't surprise me that that when you hit human origins, yesterday I hit Google searches on human origins where we're making all these advances and human origins. We got 1.3 million hits on Google. Kim Kardashian, 150 million. So, and I started going down this rabbit hole. I could like look at other perspectives, Buddhism or Christianity or something. We get a lot more hits. So at the same time, we know we have real hard facts. At the same time, nobody's into it. I paid $1.99 on Netflix to get the Walking with Cavemen. They're wearing these cheap gorilla suits, and so we have the technology, the CGI. We can make Spider-Man, who, I hate to tell you, it never existed. All of these things never existed. And then we have reality out there, and there's no budget for it because, for some reason, nobody's interested in it except me. I think if this class was on Buddhism, I'd have twice the people. So that's just I just want to end here with Jane Goodall. She went out trying to understand chimps. Now she fights for their welfare.
Yeah.
Why? It's because she's human. She's human, and because she's a great ape. Because the chimps she's with are also connecting with her, and I guess this explains why Kim Kardashian is more popular than this, because we're social creatures like our fellow great apes, and so that's where I ended yesterday. I'm not going down that path. It's us, and the bottom line is hopefully we're more like Jane Goodall, and that is it.
Part two.
I don't know. You know what? It turns out that that's a lot of work for me to get caught up in the last 42 years of paleoanthropology.
That is a lot of work.
I might wait. I did just offer to do a class that has nothing to do with any of this. It's Great Civilizations of the World. I'm going to dabble in history, part 1, Southern India. I actually offered it, and everyone was signed up, and then they said, I got a notice a couple weeks beforehand that said the class was going to have to be on Zoom, and I was, well, I've done my Zoom classes for now. I'll wait. So that's going to be in, I think, end of July. So does anybody have any questions? You guys, thanks for putting up with me. Yes, sure.
Okay. I have a question about creativity.
I do too.
And, well, good. If you don't know an answer, give me what your questions are, please, about it. Because how did that arise? Because it's kind of done just for pleasure.
Well, I would argue that, pleasure is a tool to get us to do things, and we don't get pleasure about things that don't help us. I think you were in the Stone Age present class, and it's like everything from our desire to eat sugar to any type of pleasure has to, I would guess, has to have an adaptive reason.
And that's quite a wonderment is how in the world nobody created a pointed tool for a million years. It's like, isn't that obvious? Or a wheel or any of that. Because it seems so obvious to the brains we have now.
It does. You'd think that there'd be a lot of things with large brains, but they're not. Well, I mean,
And then there's creativity for its own sake.
So we must be wrong. You know,
Wrong.
our assumptions about how important the brain is, it might be important for exploring and understanding the universe, but there's no adaptive reason for that. I think that's just a side thing. Our curiosity and our ability to try and go to Mars and send up that amazing Jim Webb telescope, I don't think it evolved to do that. I think that it is just it's just dragged along.
Because we can. Just
Yeah,
because we can.
Right, and obviously creativity really helped our ancestors. If you think about
Yeah.
ancestors that sit there and they're going, well, the mammoths went away. I'm getting hungry. What do we do next? It seems like it would be adaptive to have some that say, hey, maybe because it's getting cold, maybe they left and went someplace else. And so, I mean, it's creativity. You know, the creative mind seems adaptive for modern humans, especially in the last 10,000 years. And if I do the other class, I'm gonna so want to emphasize like agriculture and what's happened since agriculture, because it's something that everybody, historians, get into also. So, right.
Thank you.
I'm done. Thank you guys.
Haven't seen you in a while.
No, how are you been?
Thank you. I always.
Good to see you, Hon.
Good for you. Yeah. You asked
Working on
something.